welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. Proudly program that we'll be talking tonight is the fear of INEC on the incessant attacks on its facilities as the 2023 election draws near. Plus, the Osun State Governor, Senator Ademola Adeleke, today resumed office with some very strong decisions that he's made. Hello, welcome everyone to the program, and let's begin to let you know that our countdown continues to the 2023 elections. From today, it is now 89 days before Nigerians will march to the polls. Interesting as the day rolls by, and we are hoping that that day comes with some enthusiasm and some anticipation that Nigerians will be able to elect their leaders in February next year. So go get your PVC as soon as INEC decide to start giving them out, and let's continue the countdown. Count with me, Nigerians. 89 days, and we're counting down to the election day. Hashtag Nigeria decides. Well, it was such a humbling moment as your award-winning television station, Channels Television, wins the best television station of the year yet again at this year's Nigerian Media Merit Award. It is the 30th edition, and Channels Television has won it for a record 15 times. Yes, you heard it right. 15 times out of the 30 editions that the NMMA has organized that prize. The broadcaster clinched the prize, which recognizes media excellence in the country, at the 30th edition of the NMMA, which took place in Lagos State on Sunday night. This award is now to those of you who dedicate your time and resources to watching us from every part of the world, especially Nigerians, wherever you may be, from the nook and crannies of Kamfanchan to the very beautiful city of Osun in Kogi State, and part of every part of Nigeria. We appreciate you, and to all of the Channels Television staff, the hard work that you put in for these to come by. We really are humbled by these as we now enter into a critical election year. We're poised to do more for Nigerians as we bring you the kind of information that you need as citizens to take the right decisions that you need to. Thank you so much, our viewers. Thank you, Nigerians. Let's begin by telling you the fears that INEC has ahead as we head into the election. INEC is saying that there are serious concern over the threats and the series of attacks that the facilities of INEC has experienced. 3 of them in the last 3 weeks, the arson and the incessant attacks. The chairman of the commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, raised a concern at a meeting with members of the African Union Special Election Mission who were on a visit to assess preparations for the general elections next year. Let's listen to the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu.
But I must say that in spite of the progress that we are making, the Commission is still concerned about the security situation generally in the country, particularly the incidence of attacks on our facilities. In the last 3 weeks, 3 of our local government offices were attacked in 3 different states of the Federation. And the last one occurred yesterday in the southeastern part of the country. Now, although there were no casualties, but quite a number of the materials already acquired and delivered for the elections have been lost. Now, the good thing is so far, we can recover from all the losses, but it's a source of concern. They shouldn't be allowed to continue. So we'll continue to engage with the security agencies to make sure that these offices, as well as personnel and our facilities, are protected ahead of the elections.
Well, and you heard the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. Before we get talking about our major conversations for tonight, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
Former director of the Kenyan Anti-Corruption Commission, Professor Patrick Lumumba, says African politicians must stop seeing political offices as a birthright, but as an opportunity to render service, sacrifice and selflessness. He was speaking in Abuja at the 10th memorial anniversary of Nigerian politician and senator in the Second Republic, Dr. Abubakar Olushola Saraki. Professor Lumumba says politicians in Nigeria must speak to issues in their campaigns ahead of the 2023 general elections. He explains that the era of money politics is gone, and now it's about capacity and character, not religion or ethnicity.
When we interrogate leadership, we must ask ourselves, how free are our leaders? How free are our politicians from external influence? But is that an excuse? No.
The appeal court sitting in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, has reinstated all PDP candidates in Osun State as it sets aside the Federal High Court judgments against the party. The Court of Appeal sets aside the judgments of Justice O. Oguntoyibo of the Federal High Court on September 27, 2022, delivered in favor of Prince Segun Seriki. In the judgment delivered by Justice Folashade Ojo, the court affirmed it is the exclusive right of the national body of the party to conduct primary. Therefore, Prince Seriki and Wambushe conducted an illegal and unlawful primary, rendering it a nullity. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has upheld the judgment of the Federal High Court in Damaturu, Yobe State, which held that the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, is not the candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress for Yobe North Senatorial District in next year's election. The court insists that Mr. Lawan did not participate in the legally recognized primary election of the APC held on May 28, 2022. Professor Babagana Zulum says the attack on the convoy of the PDP presidential campaign some weeks ago was a culmination of political tensions among supporters of both the APC and the PDP in the state. He says the APC government under his leadership has played politics according to laid down rules and regulations guiding electioneering processes.
When the PDP made a formal application to use the Ramat Square as the venue for campaign rally, I immediately directed the SFG to contact the police and DSS for their professional opinion on the security implications of the rally.
A governorship aspirant of the People's Democratic Party in Ogun State, Mr. Segun Showumi, says the party will unite and vote for the presidential candidate Atiku Spokespersons, despite the internal crisis rocking the party.
This time around, we are not having any conversation with any other person. Our party is our party. Our party is our party.
Hundreds of women drawn from the 6 states of the South-South zone have declared their support for the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, as president of Nigeria in 2023.
To charge you all, women of the great South-South, that as you have your PVCs, if you know that you haven't collected your PVC, make sure you pick up your PVC. We have to make our voices louder in action come February 2023.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Not only you that the People's Democratic Party and the APC perhaps are the frontline political parties as far as the traditional understanding of how politics and our election plays out in this election cycle. They've shown themselves as such. I mean, we've seen the Labour Party, the NNPP, the SDP, and all the political parties also pull in some weight. But in the past days, been some eventful past days and of campaigns and activities of these political parties, with some of them throwing jabs at each other and some of them are telling voters why they are better than others in the race. The presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, has mocked his People's Democratic Party counterpart, Abubakar Atiku, for running multiple times for the presidency. Tinubu was speaking during an engagement with Niger Delta stakeholders in Baramatu Kingdom in Delta State on Friday. He said that Atiku had been running for presidency since, and adding that the former vice president must be tired from running. Take a listen to Bola Tinubu.
One says he is Atiku. How many times has he been running? to go and sit down. Enough is enough. The other one, that one, I think na statistic we go chop. A lie with arithmetic that never, no Indian can solve it. To mention his name is a disgrace to me, sir. I won't mention the name. Wrong arithmetic, wrong statistics, warehouse economy, and that's not what Nigeria needs.
But then Bola Tinubu, the APC presidential candidate, well, the People's Democratic Party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, has since replied his counterpart, Bola Tinubu, saying the APC created a lot of mess for Nigerians, and he, Atiku, is running for president to clear the mess. Atiku spokesperson, Paul Ibe, has stated these, adding that his principle will lift Nigerians out of the mess created by Tinubu's APC in clueless 8 years of administration. Let's get to talk about some of the plans, the agenda, some of the issues in the campaign and in the race. I'm being joined tonight by the presidential spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party Presidential Campaign Council, Mr. Charles Aniago, who joins us virtually from Asaba in Delta State. Thank you so much, Charles, for joining us tonight. And I'm also being joined.
Thanks for having me, Shimon. Good evening.
Thank you so much indeed. I'm also being joined by a member of the Presidential Campaign Council and the chieftain of the APC, Mr. Ayo Oyalowo, is also an economist. Thank you so much indeed for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, Shimon.
Gentlemen, for what is paramount for many Nigerians today is how their lives will be better and who will make their lives better out of the 15 political party that has presented presidential candidates. And perhaps I should begin with Charles, where the APC presidential candidate had told your principal that he's always running and he should be tired of running. And well, he has replied to say, look, the reason why he wants to is running is to clear the mess. What exactly do you think your principal means by that?
Well, thank you very much, Ashio. If you have followed the presidential candidate of the APC in recent time, you will see that in a number of areas he lacks coordination. So we don't take offense. Whatever he says, we just assume that it's in tradition with the trajectory that he has maintained since he joined the race. He failed to realize that our president today, Muhammadu Buhari, ran for this same position about 3 times first, and then the 4th time he was able to get it because he felt that he needed to add value. But unfortunately, those of them who were supposed to advise President Muhammadu Buhari, whom many of us believe meant well, were not able to advise him properly. And we also do know that Bola Tinubu is a national leader of the APC. The good thing is that every one of us, including my brother Ayo Oyalowo, who is there with you, knows that our country is not in the best of shape on account of their mismanagement of not only our economy, their mismanagement of our diversity, their mismanagement of our educational system, their mismanagement of the structural imbalances that we have in this country, and of course, there are also mismanagement of the many things that before now served as unity for the people of this country. And so Atiku, as a man who initially thought that they had plans to be able to make a difference, in the course of the line, particularly sometime in 2017, discovered that they were progressing in error. And the best thing he could do in that instance is to abandon that their ship and then to begin to talk about those things he thought that those individuals have the ability to solve. And those are the things I have mentioned. So Atiku is coming not only to clear the mess, but also to recover Nigeria from where we are at the moment. you do know the situation that we find ourselves, whether it's in the area of the value of our naira, or whether it's in the area of the level of education, the kind of education we have at the moment, or many other factors that as the first security. So there are so many things that Atiku is coming to right that the APC have taken in the wrong direction. And so in rewriting our history, Atiku is coming to recover us from where they have taken us to. And because they don't have a solution, the only thing they do is to begin to insult every other person who is in the race. You may need to take a look at what has happened in the course of this race. You cannot quote Atiku Abubakar to have insulted or used languages that are not presidential in any manner. Somebody who wants to be president says that it will be a disgrace to him to mention a fellow contestant who have had cause to also govern a sub-national in this country. That tells you they are the one that ordinarily should be in search of content and not Atiku Abubakar.
Is it a crime, Ayo, for example, for someone to run multiple times, just like your principal has pointed out? I mean, he said that Atiku should be tired by now.
Sure. I don't know. You've never been a political contestant, so
I have.
You've never contested.
When I was in the university and I was beaten.
You have almost seen.
And I promise I won't run for anything office.
No, actually, there are things. Even Charles knows that he's just making a mountain out of a molehill. And normally, in political contests, there are necessary times you throw jabs. We have seen about 2-3 times the two men have met at the airport on different trips, and we've seen how convivial they were. So the jabs is just necessary to spice up the contest. It is not the content. The content here is what are we going to do that we believe Atiku cannot do. That is the issue here. What are those things we can do?
You think Atiku does not have capacity?
Yeah, we will not sell an Alscon that is built for $3.2 billion for $350,000. I mean $350 million, and say it's a mistake. That's one thing we will not do. We will not sell out government agencies.
So what do you mean by that? I mean, you need to clarify.
Under Atiku, when they were doing the former government with Obasanjo as the president, when they were having, or they were doing what they call privatization, Atiku was in charge. Alscon, which was supposed to be one of the best smelting company, aluminum smelting company in Africa, that was built for $350 billion US. Atiku sold it for $250 million. And when they asked him later, he says it's a mistake. They did the same thing with the one in Delta State. We will also not close up government agency and sell to our friends and then do what you call, you scrap it off. We have NITEL, we have NIPOST, we have Nigerian Airways, we have all of them. We will not throw the stuff away. We know clearly what happened under Atiku. These companies were sold off. To today, none of them is still existing. The people who worked there were not paid their pensions until Buhari came and he has paid it off. We will not also collect monies that are dues that have been owed. We know what Wike said about what happened to Okowa, his principal. Okowa collected $250 billion as excess money that was supposed to have been paid for over the years that even the PDP never paid. Until Wike exposed him, nobody knew. So those are the things we will not do. We are going to ensure that Nigerians get value for whatever they come in for. And I can give you a lot of examples. If you look at our manifesto, we're talking about having industrial park, we're talking about taxation, we're talking about so many things. And tonight, I will look into those areas little by little and break it down for Nigerians and let Nigerians know what Asiwaju have in stock for them. God willing, we have enough time. I'll be able to bring some of those things to you. So the job is necessary, but that is not the content. The content for us is that we will not do what Atiku did when he was number 2. Rather, we will ensure that Nigerians don't get their assets sold so that people will now mismanage it and then tell people after so many years that it was a mistake.
Let me allow Charles to respond to what I said. Charles, are you still with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, please. I said I'll allow you to respond to what I just said.
You know, sometimes I laugh when I hear my brother Ayo talk about some of these issues. It is very, very well known of the APC to always throw figures, things that they cannot substantiate and things that never happen. But I want to leave that to talk about the things that APC can do. The APC and Bola Tinubu can afford to devalue our naira such that today is just like a tissue paper. I was in Lagos 2 days ago. A number of persons slept at the filling station. They couldn't even get petroleum products to buy. Those are the things that APC have the ability to do. Today, our people go to market. They cannot afford to buy goods that they were able to buy in the course of the 8 years of Atiku Spokespersons station. A very good example is if you want to buy rice today, you have to first of all cover as much as 48 to 50,000 naira for you to buy one bag, which was less than 7,000 naira at the time PDP was leaving office. Those are the things that APC can do. Then, of course, the level of insecurity was democratized to the extent that every part of this country became a killing field. Those are the things that APC can do. And because they don't want us to talk about it, you can see how they always run away from their national and abysmal failure. Very soon, Ayo would now come and take you back to Lagos and then say, this is what Tinubu have done in Lagos. But I would like him to tell me that, so that I will go to that Lagos with him. I will tell him that most of the inner streets, whether it's in Apapa, whether it's in Oshodi, whether it's in Isolo, whether it's in Agege, and a number of other areas that people cannot even navigate through them. So if you think that the federal roads that were built by federal government from Ikeja through Antonin, of course, having passed Maryland, and then you decide to proceed through the top mainland bridge completed by the Babangida administration, and then you go to the island, and those are things they will be showing us. We will remind them that those things were there even before Tinubu became governor of Lagos State. Let him mention one single bridge, even built by Tinubu, because usually they take us to Lagos. Since they have performed so woefully at the national level, and they don't want to stay with their records at the national level, we will accompany them in their train to Lagos so that we can discuss Lagos. But for me, if you want to bring in the 8 years or the 16 years of PDP, I will urge him to bring it on. And I will tell him that it is the PDP administration that established EFCC for the purpose of fighting corruption. I will tell him that the PDP administration, where Atiku heads to, established the ICPC for the purpose of dealing with issues of corruption. I will also remind him that the PDP administration embarked on bank consolidation to the extent that today, when you put your funds in the bank, no matter what happened to that bank, your fund is safe. I will also remind him about reforms in the pension sector. A number of times they talk about money in the SS school account, as if that was a tree that grew in one forest. That money in SS school account was made possible because your Obasanjo Atiku administration was able to realize that we were getting some funds far in excess of what was budgeted. And rather than wasting it, that we needed to save for a rainy day. I will also remind him that the PDP Obasanjo Atiku administration brought in talents that were not just even members of the party. Needn't I remind you of the roles, the likes of Okonjo Iweala, the likes of Aganga, the likes of Chukuma Soludo, the likes of Erufai, whom we believe will, in the course of time, will come back home because APC is a foreign land for him. The lives of those individuals were discovered by the PDP and they were made to work. Let him tell me one person who is even an economist, a real economist in the APC that is able to help us. So, you don't need to be surprised why they have killed our country, why they have made our economy to become so sick. So, because they don't want us to talk about it, they now take solace in throwing jabs. And he says jabs is part of political discourse. How can you be throwing jabs at a time that our people are dying on account of both hunger and insecurity? And the only thing he can be talking about is how to crack jokes and how to throw jabs. So, Shehu, please remind him that before now that you used to fill your tank, your petrol, the fuel tank in your car, that you used to fill it with less than 3,000 naira. But today, you are in search of 17,000 to be able to fill that tank. So maybe when you remind him, he will know that this is not the time for jabs.
Quickly, before I come back to Mr. Oyalo here, can you respond to some of the issues you raised in respect of the monies he said accrued to South State, especially as raised by the governor of Rivers State, which he mentioned a figure that has been accrued to Delta State under your principal, the governor of Delta State. Would you like to clear the air on that?
Well, you weren't too clear in your question, but I think I assume you were saying that he alleged that certain funds that ordinarily would have accrued to South States were mismanaged. That is their tradition, to just wake up, throw up funds. Now, let us come to the issue of the privatization process. A number of companies were privatized for the purpose of adding value to the Nigerian economy. A very good one was what we did, particularly in the telecommunications sector, which is why, even as I speak to you from Asaba today, it's made possible by that singular act that Obasanjo Atiku took in the course of their years for us to be able to interact. The question is, whenever they say money that accrue from where and in which bank, when funds comes in, maybe he needs to some education. Funds are paid into the federal government account, that's the federation account, that is resident in the central bank. It is not paid into individual accounts. At what time did the central bank take the funds that is supposed to go to the South and then domicile it in the account of an individual? In this case, my boss and my principal. That tells you they just speak for the purpose of speaking. For anybody to take away the funds of the federal government, it is either that you have awarded the contract, the contractor is paid, and the job is not executed. Once you are coming in for the purpose of privatization, the funds are paid into federal government accounts, not into individual accounts. So where did these funds he's talking about? Did anybody come to the South State and ask the governors of South States, please bring this money, let me take it home? So it is usual of them to raise these issues, to divert attention. You recall they did it in 2015. Let me remind you of the many persons they told us to money. You remember Onogen, the Chief Justice of Nigeria. They told us that he was so corrupt that he took all the money in the Supreme Court. As soon as they took him out of office, why have they not been able to get a penny from him? They told you that Jonathan's government was too corrupt, that they were packing funds. How many of those individuals have they been able to take the funds from? The ones that were even accused in this administration of APC, all of them are going free. Nobody is holding them. And because they always want us not to face the real issues, they just wake up, throw figures, and accuse individuals.
Let me allow
they want us not to stay with the real issues.
I actually wanted you to.
Let me tell my brother.
Yeah. So I actually wanted you to, so that we don't gloss over some of the issues he raised. That's why I wanted you to explain. But Ayo.
Well, like I said, my friend is busy deflecting. We talked about 13% derivation fund that has not been paid since 1999. That finally was paid. His boss, Okowa, that he works with, is owing pensioners. We saw the videos. At least you saw the video. You even showed it, where the pensioners were crying. He never paid those pensions. The money, he said, is not in personal account. I don't know where it is, but they didn't pay pensioner, and they collected billions as a 13% derivation. But that is not the issue. Honestly, doing this back and forth with PDP, we will waste all the time here. So for me, we plan to have industrial park for Nigerians, and that will mean a situation where currently now, what we are spending
just
in terms
a moment, we'll have time to go back, because the same way I allowed him to he mentioned the issue of Lagos State, that since APC members and the team.
Okay, I had him. No, let me answer him. Let me answer him. I didn't want to waste my time on that, but let me answer him. You see, it's easy to come on air and talk all these things. He said, what did Tinubu do in Lagos? I will tell him, he should go to somewhere they call Okpebi Link Road. There was no Okpebi Link Road until Tinubu became governor. He should go there and check. He should go to somewhere they call Adeola Odeku on the island. He should go to somewhere they call in Surulere, Tejusho to Ojuelegba down to, I forgot the names of this area because I've not been in Lagos for a while. Those are just small. You should go to the ones, the Ajiron and Ikorodu. You see, he can sit there and say anything he wants to say. When Tinubu became governor of Lagos State was the dirtiest state in Africa. He created what you call Loma. In terms of traffic problems, Lagos had the worst traffic problems you can find in the world. He created something called LASMA. His predecessors have continued. Tinubu created what you call the lag bus, that is now what you call BRT. Those are innovations that were not there before. That is someone who think out of the box. And we saw the Kano State government copying that same vision recently, buying over 100,000 buses. And most of these buses now are even being made in Nigeria. And then insulting President Buhari that he doesn't know what he's doing. Maybe he should go to Osun State and see where they are now building coaches for railway. Now, this is a government that has earned less than their government in 16 years. But today we are building railway coaches. Today they are assembling cars in Nigeria, and that is the area I want to go to. Because Tinubu is going to build into this. Rather than import everything that we are using, we're going to have industrial parks, and we've put it into each geopolitical zone. The south-south, the southeast, the southwest, the north central, the northwest is going to be the hub for textile manufacturing in Nigeria, and it will dovetail into Africa. The south-south will have its own area in terms of, I forgot that number. For the southeast, we're looking at making it the Taiwan of Africa in terms of manufacturing, in terms of heavy industry and equipment manufacturing. Already, as I speak to you now, some of the military boots and wares are being manufactured in the southeast, and the federal government is buying from them. Recently, INEC produced armored vehicles that even some other countries in Africa are buying. So those are areas, those are achievements that we can consciously point to as building the industrial base of Nigeria. Those are the areas that Tinubu has marked in his manifesto to ensure that Nigeria no longer become an import-dependent country. Rather, we begin to move from being an import-dependent country to become a country that produces and even export. He's talking about fuel. Maybe the same amount they are buying fuel all over the world is what they are buying today. You see, these guys, they have a way of genuflecting and misinforming people. I was in Dubai a few months back. I know how much a liter of fuel costs. Even in Nigeria till date, it is still cheaper than anywhere in the world. That is why it is easy for people to take in fuel, smuggle it across the border. So
the government subsidizes in Nigeria. Because
government subsidizes, exactly. So making it look like it's a Nigerian problem. Nigeria is not an island. Fuel is an international commodity. It is something that is priced internationally. So making it a Nigerian problem is being clever, not even by half.
Just for a moment, we need to take a break, everyone. And when we come back, we'll look at the Atiku vision and manifesto, plus the Tinubu's vision and manifesto. It does look to me that the rivalry of 2015, which ended in Buhari winning the election, and that led to the rivalry in 2019, which saw Buhari coming back into power, has not ended. We will see Atiku again up against Tinubu in the coming race amongst all the political parties and candidates that are in the race. Our eyes are on the 2023 race and what is in it for you Nigerians, the average voters. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Before we get back to the conversation, let's tell you that the new governor of Osun State, Senator Ademola Adeleke, today officially resumed office amidst rousing welcome from workers and residents of the state. Governor Adeleke was sworn in as the sixth governor of Osun State yesterday in Osogbo, the Osun State capital. It has been a busy day for the new leader of the Southwest State, as he's made loads of pronouncements and decisions just in about 24 hours. Some of the decisions he's made include appointment of Chief Press Secretary, Chief of Staff, and Secretary to the Government of the Federation. He's also suspended and ordered the immediate suspension, of the chairman of the Osun State Independent Electoral Commission, OCEC, Mr. Segun Oladiton. The governor also suspended 6 members of that commission. Well then, let's get back to the conversation, everyone. Mr. Ayo Yalawa, a chieftain of the APC, and Mr. Charles Anyago, presidential spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party. Both of them are speaking with us right here on the program. And our conversation is on the 2023 presidential race and some of the issues that have been raised. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for talking to us. Let me go back to Mr. Aniago. Give us a sense of how or why your candidate, Atiku Abubakar, is better, or why he thinks that he's the best man for the job, because Nigerians are hoping to choose the best man for the job.
Well, thank you very much, Sheon. Before I quickly go there, you know, I go there. I told you before that I didn't hear very clearly what he said and then the question you asked. But let me very quickly remind Ayo that the funds that the federal government is owing us, we have not assessed that fund. If that was what he was referring to, the pensioners is talking about our local government workers that we are assisting. We are giving them grants. They are not state workers. So he's just throwing that in their usual manner. Let me tell him that he needs to come to data and see what we are doing in terms of projects across the length and breadth of the 25 local government areas of the state. Now, back to what you asked. Atiku is better than Tinubu in so many ways. One, Atiku is somebody who has been a manufacturer. He was born on the 25th of November, 1946. He went to a primary school in Jeddah Provincial Primary School. He attended a secondary school and also in that particular environment. And of course, he worked in the Nigerian customs. So I know the man I speak for. I would like Ayo to tell us who he speaks for, the town where he was born, the secondary school or primary school he attended, the companies he owns. I can mention the companies that Atiku owns where he's into manufacturing, whether it's in the area of education. You do know that Atiku is the owner of American University of Nigeria, so you know that particular one. You know that Atiku is the owner of Intels. You know that Atiku Abubakar is the owner of Adama Beverages. You know that Atiku Abubakar is the owner of Adama Farms. Let me just leave it there, not to talk of what he's also doing in the television sector, which of course have to also do with telecommunication. So I can mention his sources of income. I want Ayo to tell us the sources of income of his own principal. What that tells you is that the man I'm talking about is known. Nigerians know that this man has integrity and he has what he does to earn a living and to give job to Nigerians. That's one hand. Atiku understands that we need to be able to manufacture, which is why he owns companies that is into manufacturing, so that you can bring back the jobs and give value to our own currency. His principal does not know that because he's not known to own any company. If he says he owns one, let him mention the name of that company. Atiku is also a man who believes that you need to hunt talents. Go and ask the likes of Okonjo-Iweala, the likes of Chukwuma Soludo, the likes of El-Rufai, how they came in to play the roles they play in the Atiku Obasanjo days. So which means Atiku is so detribalized that once he sees a Nigerian who can add value, in this case, needn't I remind you that Okonjo-Iweala is not from Adamawa, he's from the south, and the south is of course married to a man in the southeast. So which means Atiku left the north to come and identify people in the south and the southeast to be able to play a role. All right,
Charles, let me ask Ayo the same question. Just for a moment. If I allow you, you are a former broadcaster, you could speak up by yourself for 1 hour. Let me allow Ayo to respond to some of the things you've said, and I'll ask you the same question, Ayo. Why do you think your candidate, Bola Tinubu, is the best candidate for
Thank
this
you
job?
very much. Thank you. When they talk about Atiku as a manufacturer and industrialist, you begin to ask yourself, when did they build those industries? When you use government funds to buy off government agencies and then you appropriate them to yourself, and now when the money is not coming, asking how many of those companies are working. They've closed the radio station, he sold his shares in Intel, the food one that was opening, one small rice and chicken or whatever name it, all of this has closed down. But let them continue to lie to themselves. That is not the issue here. The issue here is this. I was talking about industrial park earlier on, and I said, one of the things that will be done will give tax rebates, that's tax holidays to companies, so that Nigerians don't import things to Nigeria any longer. That way we're able to build our foreign reserves. We're not going to waste it. Then we'll be because look, they keep talking about this foreign exchange, and I need to answer this using this example. In October alone, Japan used $43 billion of their foreign reserves to defend the Japanese yen. Go and check it. So it's a global phenomenon. Normally, I can give a little lecture on how economically countries were supposed to have the medium of exchange should have been against gold. But one way or the other, the Americans used whatever sleight of hands they had, and now they have the upper hand. They dictate whatever dollar is to anybody in the world. Every currency is fighting to. But for us, what we're going to do, one, we're going to have companies able, instead of importing things, we'll give tax holidays, we'll give so many other incentives to companies to come and establish their manufacturing base in Nigeria. And I was talking about areas, I talked about the the Northwest to be the industrial hub for, what do you call this, fabrics, textile manufacturing, thank you. And then the North Central will be more for a hub for solid minerals, while the Southwest, in fact, if you look at our manifesto, we talk about the ability to use sand to create glass, to manufacture glass. So those are things we are looking at. And in terms of agriculture, we're going to incentivize agriculturists and then have what you call a board to ensure that farmers don't get less than they deserve to get. So in that way, you will regulate what farmers get, and then you ensure that food prices don't get overblown. So we are looking at a whole system, because currently what is killing the economy is the fact that everything is imported. Also, Asiwaju is talking about credits. As a young man today, I'm sure you are living in a rented apartment if we ask, or probably even if you are buying a house now, you can't afford one. So what Asiwaju is looking at is, rather than you looking for 50 million, 100 million to buy a house, because you have a solid job, you will be able to access credit to give you a home. Because many times what makes our young people leave the country, you see when they live in 2-3 years, they're telling us, oh, I bought my first house. It's not like they paid 200 million naira to buy the house. They got credit to buy the house. You see them in 6 months, they say, I've bought a car. It's not that they went to carry 10 million naira to buy a new car. Rather, you are able to access credit. And if you also look at this tax holiday you are giving, which means most of these cars will be manufactured in Nigeria. And when they are manufactured in Nigeria, two things is going to happen. Prices will drop. People will be able to afford it. And Nigeria can now become a hub. We can tap into the after and then able to ensure that the entire African continent buys from Nigeria rather than import these things from Europe. So those are things Asiwaju is looking at to boost the economy. I'm not here to come and be arguing what primary school Atiku went to. We know these things. We know the man as custom officer was abusing his office from the woman that he said he married. We know the story. He told us how he was doing. We don't want to engage in these legalities of using government money to buy intel and pretending to be a businessman. We are talking about actually affecting the lives of Nigeria. And that is what Asiwaju has planned. If tax credit is given to Nigerians with the BVN and the VIN that we already have, I mean the NIN that we already have, it will make it stronger for banks and money lenders to be able to say, okay, this guy has a good job, he can afford this. You can get your own house, you can get your own car, you can get your own telephone, you can get your own electronics. You don't have to cough out the money in one day. Yeah, so that's how Asiwaju want to affect the life of Nigeria.
Before I go back to Charles, the question I asked is, why is Bola Tinubu?
Those are the reasons. Those are the things it's going to do for Nigerians. Because it's going to make their lives easier. You don't have, see, and it will also curb corruption. When people have access to the good things of life, you don't have to steal and wait for the raining days, because you know that the system don't work for you. But when Asiwaju make the system to work for Nigerians, Nigerians will no longer be afraid of the system, knowing fully well that this system has been built in a way that I, as an ordinary person, can easily benefit from the system without being corrupt.
So just quickly, he made reference to the profile and the personality of Atiku Abubakar, and he was asking you to also tell Nigerians about your own principal.
Yeah, my principal submitted his University of Chicago papers. Has anybody said he didn't go there, or the Delhi college that he went to? You see, we like to create a big deal out of no deal when we don't have anything to say. Because his principal has nothing to offer, you have to go back and... People in some age necessarily don't have to even attend school. Many people were either homeschooled or, for instance, I that I'm younger than Asiwaju, the primary school I went to today in Kano no longer exists. Government took it over. The private sector could not. The school I went, the secondary school I also went to, first secondary school I went to, no longer exists in Jos. It is called Prince College of Commerce. It is taken over right now as I speak to you on the land where my former school is now a police college. So these are issues, and I don't want to come here and start arguing over unnecessary issue. I'm arguing over what the man can do. I don't care what health college he went to, Atiku went to. I don't want to know. I want to know what does he have to offer. And I know clearly the only thing he has to offer is to take from government appropriate it to himself, and then pretend to be a businessman. And that's not what Nigerians are looking for.
All right. Charles, so I'd like you to also respond to what Ayo has said. But fundamentally, one of the things that Nigerians are also looking for is how their lives are going to be better. For a moment, there's some criticism about the policy direction in the manifesto of the PDP and Atiku Abubakar about how he hopes to liberalize, and perhaps the popular saying that he's going to sell it some of his assets to some of his friends for economic reasons and all of that. If you can clarify and explain what this means for Nigerians.
Well, thank you very much. Ayo, my friend, is somebody I know that used to be very intelligent. First, I must thank him for acknowledging that they are killing the Nigerian economy. You heard me when he said that what is killing the economy is because we are embarking on a whole lot of imports. So, which means for 7 years, they didn't have any solution as to saving the life of Nigerian economy, which today is in a very comatose situation, and the country is in the ICU unit and requires a consultant, and that consultant is Atiku. I must also thank him for not even knowing who he's speaking for. We have suffered as a country from unknown gunmen. How can we also proceed to suffer from an unknown president? And so that is by the way. Now coming to what Atiku is going to do differently. What affects the lives of Nigerians is that today the money in their hand does not have value. And why does it not have value? Because we are not producing. Atiku says he's going to stimulate a production in a number of sectors, particularly in both micro and macro aspects of our economy, which is why he's setting aside $10 billion for the purpose of activating production in that sector. Because believing that when they produce, the private sector will be able to reactivate the many comatose sector industries that are dead, in which case, once they come alive, they will also be able to bring back the jobs. Atiku says there are a lot of ailing industries. And today, I give you an example. We have the refinery in Lagos, in Port Harcourt. We have another refinery in Kaduna. We have another one here in Delta, of course, in Warri. Shehu, you do know that the reason why you cannot even see fuel like in Abuja to buy as at when you want to buy it is because these refineries are dead. And we're spending the much of funds that we needed to be able to reactivate a number of sectors to pay for subsidy. Now, why do you leave that industry? Do you know that those who work in these companies and these refineries that I have mentioned, they are 4 because you have 2 in Port Harcourt, are earning fast salaries as individuals working in the oil sector, yet they are not producing anything. Atiku says, I am going to privatize and bring the private hands to make them work. And that is a very clear example of how to reactivate and help the Nigerian people. On the issue of insecurity, Atiku says that our people can no longer go to their farms, and as such, they are not able to produce. And for him to be able to ensure that we have security, he is going to ensure that we have some levels of, in the medium term, what do you call them, policing at the different tiers of government, whether at the local government level, the state level, and of course the federal government providing certain framework. And for us to do that, we need to activate a process that will lead to re-engineering of our laws. And for such states that can afford to fund state police, he will allow them to be able to have that so that they can police the environment.
All right. Mr. Nyago, we are totally out of time. Let me allow Ayo also his parting shot on this. What would be your parting shot?
Well, for me, like I said, we are going to incentivize industries, so that, manufacturers and foreign conglomerate, because I remember when I last went to South Africa, you find that most of the cars they drive in South Africa were produced in South Africa. They didn't need to reinvent the wheel. What they did was incentivize Mercedes-Benz, certify BMW, Toyota companies, and they're all manufacturing those things in that place. Now in Nigeria, we even not import the new ones. We import what we call tokumbo, which everybody knows as a second hand from abroad. So those are the things we're going to stop, and then ensure that these things are produced in Nigeria. And like I said, when they are produced in Nigeria, it is cheaper. They're going to have tax incentives. They're going to have other incentives to ensure that these companies are comfortable. And power, that has always been the problem. Siemens is almost completing the phase 1 of the project. When this project is fully completed, we're going to have 25,000 megawatts of power to give Nigerians power. And like I said, agriculture is also being worked on as it is. And there's going to be more of incentivizing farmers. So clearly, we are looking at ensuring that Nigerians are living a better life. We are not going to come here and pretend to be doing privatization and sell assets to our friends and to ourselves. We're going to rather bring in these private sectors to create the system to ensure that it works for Nigeria. Dangote is almost done. Samad is almost done. We're going to have refineries not working. We won't sell it to our friends like Atiku used to do.
That could be libelous. But that's
well, he said I will sell to my friend. The video is there. He said I will sell to my friends. He said it.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Ayo Yalawo and Charles Aniagu. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's our show. That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure Kimale. God bless Nigeria.